We're really an umbrella organization. We have 31 nonprofits. We essentially provide funding to them. We ask individuals in our community to be able to give back, whether that be through corporate contributions, employee payroll deduction campaigns, individuals, foundations, things like that. But we actually serve 6 counties here locally. So we really try to impact the greatest needs in our community.
So if I give $100 to the United Way, how much of that $100 goes back to those organizations?
All 100, to ensure that every dollar that a community member gives to our local United Way, that nothing comes out for my salary, operating expenses, anything that's budgetary expense. Because again, for us, 100% of that equals impact.
Welcome back to the Discover Fort Smith podcast. My name's Josh Bufink. I'm with the city of Fort Smith, and next to me is Ashley Backert. She is the executive director at the Convention and Visitors Bureau, also known as Discover Fort Smith. Thank you for being my lovely co-host yet again.
Absolutely.
And today we have a very special episode with the president and CEO of the United Way of Fort Smith, Shea Foldvary. Thank you so much for being here, Shea.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about how you ended up in Fort Smith, or are you from here? Like, what's your Fort Smith story?
Born and raised, actually. So born and raised, went to Southside High School. So after that, I did go to college in Central Arkansas, but had an opportunity to actually come back. I started my career at Weldon, Williams and Lake right here in Fort Smith, just downtown, not far from where we're at now.
Right behind city offices.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I did HR for them and some account management work for them for a few years, and then had the opportunity to go to Mercer after that, and now I'm at United Way. I've been there since end of 2018.
That's awesome. And a lot of people don't know the history of Weldon, Williams and Lake. It's been around for over a century now, right?
Yeah, it's funny how you remember dates. I'm a numbers person, but 1898 is when it started. So I guess I just stay with older companies because Mercy's obviously over 150 years old, and then you look at United Way being 97 this year. So
wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
So you went from Mercy to United Way. What kind of stuff does United Way do in the community? Maybe people aren't familiar with how the United Way helps the community in Fort Smith and the greater Fort Smith area, really.
Yeah, so we're really an umbrella organization. We have 31 nonprofits that we call them partner agencies or funded partners. They fall under our umbrella. So we essentially provide funding to them. And how we do that is we ask individuals in our community to be able to give back, whether that be through corporate contributions, employee payroll deduction campaigns, individuals, foundations, things like that. But we actually serve 6 counties here locally. So
oh, wow.
It's a lot of footprint for us. So 4 counties in Arkansas, go all the way to Ozark, Booneville, and beyond. And then also being right here on the border of Oklahoma, we have LaFleur and Sequoia counties as well. So it's a very big area that we serve. And all those 31 funded partners that we talked about falls within that. So these are agencies, kind of some familiar ones, Boys and Girls Club, Abilities Unlimited over in Van Buren. So really we say birth until the end of life agencies. So we really try to impact the greatest needs in our community.
Oh, that's awesome. So whenever you say there are partner agencies or people that are under the umbrella of the United Way, what does that mean for those agencies?
Yeah, so really it's sustainable funding for them. So it gives them an opportunity. We look at the federal and state landscape of grants and things like that and how they're pivoting and shifting around. And we're talking about this during a government shutdown too. So having those local dollars through United Way obviously helps sustain them through times like this. But it also is a way for them to, have different resources beyond too. So, we provide other things beyond just the funding piece for an organization that's underneath United Way.
That's awesome. So if I give $100 to the United Way, how much of that $100 goes back to those organizations?
All 100. And that's a really unique thing that we can say here in this community. So if you back up several years ago, Mr. Raleigh Borum, which is a pretty common name around here, the Borum name, he was a former chairman, CEO of Baldor, now it's ABB. Okay. And he had this vision when he was on our board, and that vision was to ensure that every dollar that a community member gives to our local United Way, that nothing comes out for my salary, operating expenses, anything that's budgetary expense. So he was able to leave us a legacy gift back in 1990. It's our endowment fund that we have today. and that has grown exponentially since 1990. So since 2011, we've been blessed to be able to operate 100% off of that endowment. So essentially, we take about 5% of the investment interest off the top of that investment, wherever that might be, and that determines our budget each and every year. So again, 100% of everything that somebody gives in this local community through United Way goes back to the local community.
Is that pretty unique for our United Way, or several others like that, or is that unique to us pretty much?
Very unique to us. So there's around 1,100 United Ways worldwide because it is a global brand. What's unique is, though, with United Way, we all work autonomously. So we have 21 local board members that are local leaders within our 6 counties that essentially govern what we do in the community. But it is unique because we can actually operate off of our endowment. Some United Ways, they might have it for program. So they may have a program that they have an endowment that may fund 100% or part of it. But we have to actually report to United Way Worldwide each and every year. And with that, we get a lot of those metrics. And this is a really awesome thing for us. It's not just that our endowment covers our operating expense, but we're the 7th largest endowment out of all 1,100 United Ways globally.
Nice.
And then they kind of tier it, so they call them metro sizes. So when you look at our size campaign, we're under a $2.5 million campaign every single year. We're called a Metro 4. Within that Metro 4, all United Ways under $2.5 million campaign, we're the 3rd largest.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that's a testament back to Mr. Raleigh Borum. And then we also have an endowment committee along with First National Bank who holds that fund for us. And they actually manage that each and every year. So we actually just met Tuesday of this week, a couple of days ago, prior to this interview. But we meet quarterly, and they manage those funds and make sure that it's growing and that we're investing in the right things in the market to continue that sustainability for our community. So it's funny because around the office, we essentially are a free service for the community. Because another piece of it, and I'm sure you probably were going to get into this, I'll go ahead and jump in, but the accountability piece of United Way. So we have what's called the community investment process. So when those dollars come in, it's not the 5 individuals at United Way that determine how much each of the 31 partners receives. It's a team of 60 volunteers. Anybody in the community that's a donor that wants to be a part of that process, their leadership, they go out, they vet these agencies. It's an open book to be United Way partner. So we look at everything from finances to audits, and they're the ones that determine how much each agency receives. So that's the accountability. So not just that 100% of your dollar goes back into the community through United Way, but it's vetted. So you know that we are holding those agencies accountable for what they are saying that they're going to do.
And I've been on one of those panels for the last couple of years.
Yes.
And we go in and ask some tough questions like, what have you done? Where are you headed? We look at the books. We typically have an accountant in our group that looks through those things. And then I do the, marketing. Do they have the signs up? How are they getting the word out? Those types of things.
Yeah.
But man, it is a great process to be a part of. And so those groups, my understanding is those groups, they come back with their recommendations, and then it goes to like another group that kind of hashes out where those monies or those dollars are going back for the next year or the year to come.
That's right. So of those 60 volunteers, we break them out into what we call panels, but essentially there's 9 of those. And each one of those panels, as you're talking about, has a chairperson. Those are the ones that come before into our office, and they're the ones that talk about, here's the 3 or 4 agencies that we went and visited, and this is how much we want to give each agencies. Now, I will say, because of the need is always arising, the requests from agencies may not always be exactly what they're asking for. So oftentimes, or what we're able to give, I should say, from the campaign dollars. So there's always a lot of good conversations. Those meetings have gone from an hour to sometimes 5 or 6 hours in our office. But that's the accountability piece of it, because that's really where the rubber meets the road for a donor, is to know that this isn't just give your dollar and it's not accounted for. No, there's a whole process, because that's a 3-month process that we undergo just to take your dollar and be able to reinvest it back into the community.
And I mean, as a donor, and I'm sure there are several other donors who really appreciate that so much thought is going into where those monies are going.
Yes.
That it's not just, hey, we're just going to give some here and give some here. It's like, no, we know what the needs are. We know how these monies are going to be invested in our community, and we really care about that process. And so I appreciate that. I'm sure many other people do as well.
Absolutely.
So what does, say somebody calls your office, do people still call 211, and what's that like?
They're still calling for needs, obviously. I mean,
Okay.
we know right now with the climate, we're sitting in a government shutdown, so we know food is rising up in cost. A lot of our federal and state workers are not getting paid right now. So there's things like that, obviously, that's impacting. We receive those phone calls. We are a big connector to resources. So one thing we always like to talk about is our community resource guide. And we're always enhancing this. So we actually just revamped our website, took it from scratch, built a brand spanking new website earlier this year.
What's the web address for that?
UnitedWayFortSmith.org.
Okay. All right.
And on there's a resource tab. So when you click on that, there's different resources, but one of the landing ones that we always push people to and really say, have that a part of your, your phone, your computer at home. And that is all the resources in the 6 counties that we serve, and it's constantly being updated. So that's a way for us to be able to engage. If you have a need, you literally can, it's a one-stop shop. You go to that community resource guide and get connected to those local resources. But we also encourage those phone calls to our office as well, because that's a big piece. We want to connect with the individuals that are in need of this community and connect them to those right resources for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just love to hear, have you heard, like, what are some success stories or things that you're incredibly proud of that that have happened at the United Way since you've been involved?
I think for me, so I started again late December. It was December of 2018. Well, if you fast forward 5 months, the flood of 2019 hit. So here I am, brand new to nonprofit world, not understanding any of this, and then a flood happens, one that impacted over 400 homes. So I'm really proud of how the United Way steps up in times of need. That's a big piece of our mission. We actually started putting that kind of in our foundation now as one of our pillars to say, hey, we respond in times of crisis and in need. So when those floodwaters started rising, we not only became the fiduciary for this side of the state for those individuals who were impacted, to give opportunity for individuals and companies to give and know that they're giving to the right organizations. But also we created a multi-resource center over at the former Sears building. Back then in 2019 was vacant.
Yeah.
So Central Mall actually called us and said, hey, would you guys want to essentially make this, it's called a MARC, but it's essentially a grocery store for those that are impacted. So it's a way for us to know, here's the homes, here's the individuals, and they could come in there and shop for those essential items. So, and then in addition to that was the volunteers. As you guys can imagine, so many volunteers went into that project to go out and muck out. I mean, here again, 5 months into this, and I'm hearing the word muck out, not knowing what that means. But when you have floodwaters go into homes when it's 100 degrees, because unfortunately for that particular year, we were already high 90s, low 100 temperatures, mold and mildew set in that quick. So it's going in there and having volunteers to muck that out. So, I think that's the most proud, is just seeing how this United Way adapts through all 97 years.
So, whenever you're talking about the flood and how our community stepped up and came together, volunteering, giving time and energy and resources to making things happen, to helping people out, would you say that's pretty common in our community? Are we a pretty generous, giving area?
Yes, very collaborative. So that's the one encouraging thing from the nonprofit side of things, that we are so collaborative in this community. When there's a need, we know who to call because we've met with them, we've talked to them, we know what they do. And that's really unique, honestly. We go around with different United Ways, and we meet as a collective across the state of Arkansas. And I can tell you, we're one of the most collaborative communities, if not the most collaborative. And that's a proud thing for us to be able to say.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love seeing the collaboration happen in the community. I love, watching all these, various sectors of nonprofits get together and, kind of come up with ways that they can better serve other people. It's awesome to see.
So, you talk about funding streams and going through the different ways. Like, how does that work? What does that look like? Kind of where are all the different funding methods? I think you guys do some programming or fundraising on top of. So what does that look like throughout the year?
Yeah, so a lot of what we do is within companies or individuals in the community. So we're very diversified. In addition, we've got programs like Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which is a literacy program here locally that we're the affiliate of. We receive a lot of grant funding for that. We also host a lot of events too, and that's some of our revenue stream that obviously comes in throughout the year. So we try to diversify as much as we can to ensure that really we're capturing all the donors that we can within our community. Because again, for us, 100% of that equals impact.
Yeah.
And you guys have a golf tournament too every year?
We do, yeah.
Right?
So we've partnered with the All Pro Tour the last 6 years. that has generated right at $500,000 in 6 years in profit for our local participating agencies of United Way. So it's been very beneficial. And then when we also look at the economic impact, we're talking, from 125 to 150 players from around the United States coming and playing right here at Hardscrabble in Fort Smith. The economic impact is over $3 million in that 6 years. So it's incredible to see. It's a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but the impact of what we're able to do in the community through that is just amazing.
Yeah. What do you think has really contributed to the success of the United Way here? Because it's been successful. I mean, it's amazing to hear the stats of being number 4 of all these United Ways and stuff like that. So what's really been the driving factor?
I think especially in my lifetime, primarily is the endowment. I mean, when you can say to have 100% of your contribution go back is amazing testament. I think in addition to that is just the accountability of what we do, through that process that you mentioned earlier, our community investment process, having individuals, not just our office and our board, go out and vet these agencies to make sure we're impacting the most vital services. That's really what makes United Ways unique across the nation.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit here and talk a little bit about you. You've been in the Fort Smith area your entire life. Well, mostly you went to college and then you came back, right? So what things have you seen change in Fort Smith throughout the years?
I think growth. I think more than anything, I've seen growth. I think just like any 18-year-old, when you're graduating high school, you're like, I'm getting out of here. I'm never coming back to Fort Smith, Arkansas. But to see where we've gone as a community and the growth that we've experienced, I think is really encouraging. When you're seeing all the development, the manufacturing, we've always been an industrial town, but to see even the growth with that piece of it, with what Chaffee's happening and expansions in different plants across here, is just amazing to see that.
That's awesome. So when you're out and about in the community, what kind of things do you like to do? Where do you like to go?
So I'm an outdoors person primarily. So I'm a fisherman, big time. That's kind of a pastime to kind of relieve stress, obviously. But I've also got 2 little boys at home. So I've got a 7 and 3-year-old. So for them, it's parks. They love going out to different parks and things like that. Outside is our world. So in a community like this, you have all of those amenities. It's interesting. I do through the medical college, they do community interviews. So they always ask a community member to come alongside as they're interviewing candidates. And I will tell you, I get asked this question during those interviews, what can I experience? And I always tell people it's the biggest small town you'll ever be. And I said, that sounds weird, but the fact that, you can get across town in 15 minutes roughly, but also you don't have to worry about traffic, anything like that. But just the number of amenities that we have, yet we're not the biggest of towns. And I think that's nice, especially for a young family like myself.
Yeah. And people can know people. They can get involved quickly here.
Absolutely.
If you want to get involved, you can get involved. It's just about calling somebody or sending somebody an email, and you'll get as involved as you want to be.
That's exactly right.
And I love that about here. It can be harder to crack into things in other communities, but I'm not from here. But I was really able to start getting involved in different things just because I sent somebody an email or said, hey, let's have coffee or something like that.
Right.
How about places that you like to go eat? Where are you taking the kids? Because I think always people are like, what do I do with my kids? Other than going outside and doing that. But
I just leave the kids at home.
Yeah, leave the kids at home. Yeah. Kids.
Wow.
I don't do that. I take my kids with me or I get a baby or I get a babysitter. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Obviously, having kids, pizza's our life. So when it comes to them, it's Larry's or Hideaway, places like
Larry's
that.
Larry's is a new one. I don't know if that one's been mentioned.
Yeah, we haven't had Larry's mentioned, but my kids love it there.
They love it. Yeah, mine love it. Now, me and my wife, we're Orlando's people. We're we like, I don't know, for some reason Orlando's is that or AJ's. Like we just kind of love those two for some reason. So but there's so many good restaurants here. It's hard to pick up.
Those are neat. That's a neat little spot. You can kind of bounce around to some other places. They do outdoor music sometimes up there too. It's pretty cool. So the future of Fort Smith, what do you see happening in Fort Smith the next 5 or 10 years? Or what do you dream? Like, let's dream a second. What do you dream about happening in this area?
Well, I think continued growth is what I'm seeing. I mean, we know that I-49 is going to be in the next 5 years to 10 years will be completed. And I think that growth that we're seeing now is going to continue. And what I love is it's kind of strategic growth. You know, you've got the FMS project coming here. You do have the interstate, which I think will bring additional commerce, restaurants, shopping centers, things along those lines. We see the residential coming up. So Fort Smith is doing a good job of trying to get housing to go with what's going to eventually happen, which we know is going to be explosive growth. So I think that's really what I'm encouraged by. And again, being an outdoorsman, Bass Pro Shops, I'm excited that's coming
Yeah,
here.
that
So
is
Outpost
sick.
yeah. So 5 to 10 years from now, I'll be broke, you know. So.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. I'm excited about Bass Pro, but I don't think a lot of people have spoken to the impact that I-49 is going to have
Huge.
in this area.
Huge. I mean, if you can already see what is going on on the east side of town, in addition to everything else growth-wise within the middle of the city and downtown, I think I-49 is just going to explode that growth, you know, and it's going to make it easier access anywhere because it's going to connect to I-40 and then you can go anywhere you want in the country. So we really are a hub, I feel like. I mean, I think that's why you're seeing explosive growth, obviously, within the industry too, is because it's easy to transport goods when you're right in the middle at a crossroads between I-49 eventually when that connects I-40.
Not only that, we have the port of Fort Smith, and
Yes.
that's expanding. They're building like a slackwater harbor out
Yes.
there. We've got, you know, like you mentioned, the interstate connectivity there, and we have rail connectivity here
Correct.
too. So it's really a dream for transportation and getting
is.
things from one place to the other. So I'm excited to see what that does for our economy in the
I am
coming
too.
years too.
Well, and you even think about the airport growth that can
and the
potentially happen
airport,
long time.
yeah.
It's going. I mean, again, Fort Smith I think is on a hub, but I'm encouraged by how the city, again, being here my whole life, is very strategic about what growth looks like. You know, some cities try to scale very quickly, and I feel like as a citizen here that it's more strategic growth is how we're doing it, which I think is a great thing.
Yeah, it's smart, incremental, but
Yes.
yeah, it's going to be noticeable too, especially in the next 5 to 10 years. It's exciting to see.
Well, and you think about when people try to come here and what's the town, you have an awesome university.
Yeah.
You have a lot of, and again, back to kind of the, you know, Fort Smith, and then outside of that, kind of some of those communities that we serve, it's rural. So you have the opportunity just to drive 5 minutes out of town and you're in the country. So you have a little bit of both, I feel like. It's not just the urban lifestyle here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good balance.
It is.
I like that. I like that. So next 5 to 10 years, see lots of growth. What do you think? What do you expect from the United Way specifically?
You know, I think for us is continuing to expand our services.
Yeah.
Really continuing to drive up the dollars that we're able to generate from the community to continue to have that growth and impact. Because if anything right now, what we're seeing as far as the landscape goes, we know the needs are only going to continue to arise. So getting ahead of that, being proactive about that is really what I entail that we're going to be doing.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to the next 5 to 10 years.
Absolutely.
And thank you for being a guest on the show today.
Yeah.
I look forward to maybe talking again in the future.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.